you've been formidable and outspoken about low-carb doctors.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about their motives. Do you believe these people have a lack of integrity, or are they just misinformed?
At a certain point, it doesn't really matter, right? Whether they're doing it just to sell books, or they're doing it because they've deluded themselves into thinking that this is true, and they haven't really looked at the science. Either way, what they're doing is they're harming people.
I've often wondered why it is that some people are so wedded to the idea of low carb. And they'll say you should really have a steak, and it forces them into all kinds of rationalizations, like cholesterol doesn't matter, I guess saturated fat doesn't matter, and the links with heart disease and Alzheimer's disease, let's try to discount them. It puts them in a tough spot, and I'm really not quite sure where that motivation comes from.
The rationale would be, well, look, maybe the low-carb diet isn't really health-promoting, and maybe it isn't that good of a thing, but it's better than the alternative. And plus, it's what people want, and that's what they're willing to pay for. So, as long as I'm doing somewhat less bad than what somebody else is doing, they'll pretend that being less bad is good. I don't think something less bad is good. It's still bad, it's just less bad. What we should do is have the integrity to tell the truth and let the chips fall where they may.
Here are the 15 leading reasons Americans die, and a plant-based diet can help prevent nearly all of them, can help treat more than a half of them, in some cases even reverse the progression of disease.
For many, many years, there have been doctors who have said, if you're overweight, take out all the carbohydrate, or most of the carbohydrate from your diet for a while, and since that's half of what you're eating, you're going to lose weight. I mean, you take out all the potatoes and all the bread and all the fruit and all the beans and all the pasta, you'll lose weight.
The low-carb movement, they do see results, and that's why they're so successful. You do have initial results, but those results don't stick, and that's what's concerning about that.
You will lose weight. However, after a period of time, you say, this is like starvation. Can I bring these foods back? And the weight comes back, but worse. In that interim, if you're not eating all of those healthy foods, what are you eating? You're eating meat. You're eating heavy cream. And weight loss normally causes cholesterol levels to fall, but on these fatty, high cholesterol diets, sometimes people's cholesterols, despite the fact that they were losing weight kind of from semi-starvation, their cholesterols went up, sometimes way, way up. And when Dr. Atkins himself, poor man, I mean, he died of an unfortunate accident, but then there was a big controversy, which I was in the middle of, where he had heart disease that he hid from people.
The Atkins Corporation, when I came out with my book against low-carb diets, sued me for libel. I was making libelous statements against Atkins, saying his diet was bad. Of course, he dropped dead before they were able to carry out their lawsuit, and they went bankrupt 4 months after the book came out, so they weren't able to. But I published the attorney letter online with a point-by-point rebuttal. So I encourage the meat and junk food industry to sue me. I could use the extra traffic.
I don't know what the real motivation of people who tell dangerous, dishonest messages are. But what they're saying is dangerous and dishonest. And you can look at it from the cruelty of animals point of view, from the environmental point of view, from the human health point of view. Any viewpoint you want to look at it, it's dangerous, dishonest, wrong, and harmful.
People love hearing good news about their bad habits. So, that's how you sell magazines. Butter is back, something like that. But you're selling the public short. The public deserves and needs to know that there is a consensus among the nutrition scientific community going back decades about the foundations of healthy eating and healthy living, and that is more whole plant foods like more fruits and vegetables, and minimize their intake of animal foods and processed junk.
The reality is that there's a lot of people that sometimes are well-intentioned, misguided idiots, and oftentimes they're in a position of power politically or involved in organizations that can be a real pain. And really disturbing. And it's not, and the part of the problem is it's not that they're evil people, they're just really stupid or really misguided. And as a consequence, they make decisions that are unfortunate. There's also people that know full well what the truth is, but their own financial vested interests are so powerful that they really aren't willing to admit up to it.
People often do things that they maybe in their heart of hearts wouldn't do, but for the money. And, I think about people that work in a slaughterhouse. I'm sure they would rather have another job. These are the lowest paid workers in the world, people that work in McDonald's. I bet you that if they felt they could, or if their skills, they'd rather, that people unfortunately do things for money.
The low carb movement keeps coming back over and over again in different faces, and each of them swears, "Oh no, I'm not like the last low carb. No, we tweak it a little bit. No, we." But I mean, they're very similar manifestations, and of course, they sell lots of books. Because, I mean, any book that says bacon is good for you is going to sell a lot of books. But what troubles me is, this isn't an academic debate. This isn't an academic discussion. Who's right, who's wrong? It's people are going to listen to these and actually hurt themselves, hurt their families. People are going to die. What's their number one cause of death? Number two cause of death? Go down the list. These are largely diet-related diseases, and to tell people to eat these kind of diets that it's not that it's not based on science. The science is the opposite. This is not the Dr. Greger diet versus the Dr. Atkins diet. It's the science. It's centuries of science versus the latest fad that someone wants to sell books over. And it's ironic to me that the foundation of these theories tend to be that, carbs are bad because they increase insulin production. And insulin, having high levels of insulin associated with cancer, associated with lots of bad things. But, there's meat is insulinogenic. There's a paper by, Holt and colleagues, 1997, American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, called, in fact, you can look it up, it's probably free by now, Insulin Index of Foods, and it says you eat this much of, and they went through about 50 different foods, and eating beef causes a greater spike in insulin than white potatoes and white pasta and white rice. More insulin, and if that's the villain, right? Then you'd stay away from the meat. Even using their own framework, you would eat the opposite thing.